Hello and welcome to the show.
This week on All Geeks Aside, I am bringing to you a character from a British science fiction TV show. The TV show in question is Doctor Who. It is the longest running science fiction ever. The character that I'm bringing to you is a one Rose Tyler. Now, what I'm going to do in this is I'm going to bring you through all of her basic adventures with the Doctor, how she met the Doctor, stuff like on Space Station 1, defeating the Daleks, becoming the Bad Wolf, just to name some of the things that I'm going to bring across to you today. Now, the reason I have chosen this character today is because it was requested. And I can't remember who requested it, because I do not have Facebook open at this time. But however, it was requested. If you would like to request a show, you can do so on my social media. You can send me a message. You can leave a post on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And it is All Geeks Aside across all platforms. Now, first I would like to say why I actually like this character, because I actually do love Doctor Who. I am a huge fan currently. If you check my Instagram for today or yesterday, you will see that I am wearing a Doctor Who t-shirt. Granted, it is Matt Smith. That's besides the point. It is still the Doctor. The Doctor is the Doctor. And Rose Tyler to me was the first companion that I knew. I didn't watch the original series. Rose is also more approachable. She wasn't super smart. She didn't sound like she just came out of drama school. That's a thing in England. She was a normal person who lived in London at the time and was very approachable to people who didn't understand Doctor Who. She was a skeptic. She didn't know about all these aliens. But let's get to how Rose came to meet the Doctor. But first we'll talk about what she did before she met the Doctor. Now, at the time, Rose Tyler was 19 years old. She was working in a department store in London called Hendricks, and she was living with her mom, Jackie, in Powell Estates in South London. Now, her father, unfortunately, is dead. He died in a tragic accident when Rose was but a child. And before Rose actually met the Doctor, the furthest she had travelled to was France, which, for anyone who doesn't know geography, France is just south of England. And if you do, you know where it is. Other than that, she'd gone on some vacations to South Wales with her mom. That's about it. Now, Rose had actually met the Doctor before she knew who the Doctor was. But it was out of time. It was the first time that Rose had met the Doctor, but it was the last time that her Doctor had met her. Now, the night that she met him was just after midnight on January 1st, 2005. The Doctor was stumbling down the street, seemingly drunk, but unfortunately he wasn't drunk. He was poisoned by radiation trying to save a friend of his. And Rose assumed that he was drunk. Rose asks the Doctor asks Rose what year it is. She tells him that it is 2005. And he, in turn, responds to her, I predict that this is going to be a good year for you, knowing that this is the year where she would meet him for the first time, and as would he. So, being a girl, Rose enjoyed this. She smiled and continued on her adventure. Now, the first time that Rose really met the Doctor was later that year in 2005. And it wasn't the 10th Doctor that she met the first time. This was the 9th Doctor. Now, the reason that she did meet him was because the Doctor was investigating some attacks that had happened in her department store. And Rose happened to be attacked by a mannequin. Now, a mannequin isn't something that would normally be alive, but in this case it is. Now, the Doctor saves Rose and then he disappears. Being curious, Rose decides to go in search of some information about this strange man who just comes and saves people and then leaves. So she turns to Google and she finds a man by the name of Clive. She goes with her boyfriend Mickey to try and get some information on this person. He tells her who he is and what he does, and that's it. So then Mickey and Rose decide then that they're going to go out for dinner to celebrate. But as it turns out, Mickey wasn't really Mickey. He was another one of these mannequins or plastic people, and he attacked her. But in walks the doctor, and he saves her life yet again by pulling Mickey's head clean off and then running out with it, while a headless mannequin is attacking everything in the restaurant. Using Mickey's head, or at least the mannequin of Mickey's head, the doctor learns that the enemy that is attacking him is the Nestine consciousness. And this is an old enemy of the doctor, and the doctor tells her that it is a kind of living plastic that is kind of like a hive mind and is able to create automatons or autons to serve its bidding. And also now, the real Mickey is being held by the Nestine consciousness under the London Eye. Upon getting there, Rose and the doctor have to try and save Mickey, which they do, but in turn, the doctor is captured, sort of, by the Nestine consciousness autons. In steps Rose. Rose is the one who saved the doctor for the first time, not the other way around, as it will be seen from here on out. After they're done, Mickey, Rose, and the doctor go outside and are running away from more autons. Mickey has already left the scene, and Rose is left there with the doctor. The doctor in turn runs into a blue box with police box written over the top. Now Rose runs in, and as she runs in, she notices something funny. You see, this is no ordinary police box. This is a TARDIS. The TARDIS stands for Time and Relative Dimensions in Space. You see, the TARDIS is really a spaceship, but not just a spaceship, it's also a time machine, and it can travel through time and space. And what's weird about it is that it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. So upon Rose seeing that the ship is so large on the inside, she runs back outside, circles around the whole police box, noticing that it is a police box on the outside, and then runs back inside. The doctor does offer Rose to come with him on his missions, and she turns him down, only for the doctor to return seconds later and ask again. This time she says yes. So now the doctor and Rose begin their adventures. But the one thing that Rose is curious about is how can she keep contact with her mom and with Mickey while she's in space. And he says, don't worry, I'll return you to this exact point when we get back. This is a time machine after all. But, he says, in the meantime, give me your phone. So, she hands over her phone, and the doctor uses his sonic screwdriver, which is a do whatever you want tool. Just doesn't work on wood apparently. And he modifies her phone, making so that she can now call across time and space to her time. On the first trip with the doctor, Rose and himself go to the end of the Earth. And there is a space station that is orbiting the Earth at the time, waiting to witness the Earth being completely destroyed. This is Rose's first introduction to actual aliens. There's cat people, tree-like people, a blue person, but the most important person who is there is the face of Bo. The face of Bo is said to be an old friend of the doctor. He is a giant face in a glass jar who can no longer speak really. Now, he will come up in an episode that I'm going to do on the doctor himself, or at least on the iterations that I like, being the 9th through the current doctors. The older doctors I'm not 100% on. I would not like to give you something that it would be incomplete, and also if I was to do all of the doctors it would take forever. Now also on this spaceship she meets the last human. And the last human is kind of odd, as she is no longer a humanoid shape. She is now skin with a face strapped across a suspension apparatus. I don't know how else to describe it. And she needs to be moisturized constantly. She's been nipped and tucked so much that she is nothing more than a bit of skin. It's disgusting. Is that what humans are going to become? But Rose knows that she's the last human. And Cassandra, who this last human is, eventually finds out. And now the plot thickens. Cassandra, or somebody, is behind a destruction of the space station plot in order to destroy everyone. And Doctor and Rose have to try and stop her. Now Rose ends up getting trapped inside a viewing booth where she can see the outside of the space station and see planet Earth. Somebody turns off the shield that is protecting from the radiation that is being emitted from space and from the destruction of the Earth and the supernova that is causing it. The Doctor has to save her, and he does. And then Rose and the Doctor eventually do escape. I'm not going to go through all of the information in every single episode because I would like you to have something for you to watch, but I'm giving you the quick rundown of most things. Now, Rose and the Doctor are traveling through space, and they get a distress call from Earth, but not just from Earth, from the United States, from Utah, in the year 2012. So they investigate. They find themselves in an underground facility that is headed by a somewhat collector, and he's a collector of alien weapons and alien technology. But the Doctor notices that most of the technology that's here is worthless, and the weapons don't even work anymore. At least most of them. But deep within the facility there is a secret. Deep within the facility there is an enemy of the Doctor from years gone by. An enemy that the Doctor assumes is dead, because he killed them all. The enemy that is hidden within the facility is called a Dalek. Now the Daleks are a ruthless enemy who only want to destroy everything and leave nothing but themselves. They have no emotions. They have weapons that can destroy instantly. They can't use stairs. They can't touch anything, because they're trapped within an exoskeleton that looks like a trash can turned upside down. But they're deadly. But this Dalek, unfortunately, has been injured and is being tortured by the Collector and the people who are experimenting on him. He has no gun. He's almost dead. Now here, Rose and the Doctor meet a boy by the name of Adam Mitchell, and he shows Rose around the facility, and eventually he does show her the Dalek, and what she sees is that the Dalek is being electrified and tortured, like I said. So Rose wants to see the Dalek with her own eyes, and the Dalek pleads with her to kill him. Of course Rose does not do this, but Rose does touch the Dalek, and because Rose has been aboard the TARDIS and exposed to time, radiation and energy, upon touching the Dalek, his outer casing starts to regenerate. Not completely, but just enough so that he can get free from his chains. And he does. And then he smashes a computer and absorbs the electricity so that he can regenerate the rest of his outer casing and his weapons and his eye stalk. And now the Daleks take command from a general or an emperor, and this Dalek has no commands of what he should do and what he is supposed to do. So what do you do when you have no commands? You exterminate. Go around and kill everything. And this is what this Dalek starts to do. But it is when he is again confronted by Rose that the Dalek realizes something is wrong. He can sense her fear. He can feel fear himself. And this should be not possible, as the Daleks have no fear. They feel nothing. But it's because Rose touched the Dalek. He imbued her DNA into him. Now this Dalek was slightly different. Not the same anymore. The Doctor confronts Rose and the Dalek, and he asks Rose to get out of the way. And Rose refuses, stating that the Dalek isn't going to hurt her. That you, Doctor, are the one who is pointing a gun at me. In the end, the Dalek asks Rose to order him to self-destruct, and she refuses. Rose refuses, but then he pleads with her, and she says yes. And upon him starting the self-destruct process, there are balls on the outside of his outer casing, and they detach and surround him in an energy similar to a black hole, and he disappears, seemingly dead. Now, Adam, Mitchell and Rose had started something small, little infatuation with each other, and she asks if he can come along with them. And of course, the Doctor says yes. Now the three go off on their first adventure as a threesome, and they end up in a time where Earth is in its fourth great and bountiful human empire. They are aboard a space station that circles Earth, and on board this space station, the Doctor notices that something's wrong. The technology's wrong, and they go off and they explore and they try and find some stuff, and Rose says, well, we have no money. And the Doctor goes and gets money on a card for them using his sonic screwdriver. That's kind of stealing, but nobody's really going to get hurt, I guess. And as it would turn out, this is a news station of sorts. Well, the people there don't write anything down. They have on top of their heads a kind of port directly into their brains. And this means that they can share their memories directly with the computer on board the space station. Now, upon learning this, Adam would like to get his own, because he finds out that not only do you share your knowledge, but you learn whatever is on the computer as well, that it is all shared in one. Now, their guide aboard this space station tells them that people who get promoted go up to the higher levels. Now, the Doctor sees something weird with this, so he goes and investigates himself. Upon getting there, he realizes that all that is there is corpses. Everyone is dead, and it is very, very cold up there. And then they are captured by someone called the Editor. And the Editor reveals to them that Earth is now under his control, under his master's control. And his master, and I'm going to mess up this name, is the mighty Jagrafes of the holy Hadrogasic Maxarodifo, or I'm just going to call him Max from now on. So Max was this creature who is literally taking up the whole top floor of the space station. Max doesn't really talk. He's kind of a telepath. But he does have sharp teeth, and he likes to consume humans. But because he's so large, and he's consuming so much energy and so much memories and so much of everything else, he needs cold to keep him at a regular temperature so that he doesn't explode and heat up the entire ship. And that is why it is so cold on the upper decks. Now, the Doctor has a special weapon. It's not really a weapon, but it's a special tool that he has, and it's called psychic paper. Upon showing anyone this psychic paper, whatever you tell them is on it, is on it. But in fact, it is always blank. So the Editor does not know who the Doctor and Rose really are, until Adam decides to do something nefarious. He uses the new port spike mind thing that he got to access the central computer and download all the information. Not just download it into his own mind, because he couldn't do that. But what he could do was he could use Rose's cell phone, and he could call his parents' house and leave a voicemail. So that's what he did. Now, upon accessing the spike, Adam not only shared all the memories that he was downloading from the computer, he also shared all the memories that were in his mind. So now the Editor is knowing everything. He knows who the Doctor is. He knows who Rose is. Now, Rose and the Doctor are in trouble, but they're saved by their guide, who decides to access the computer, remove all safeties, and turn off the cooling system to the upper decks. In tow, Max is destroyed, blowing up, covering the Editor in goop, and they leave the space station. Now, because Adam decided to do something so nefarious as to try and steal knowledge and technology that were not his, the Doctor returns him to his own time, to his parents' house. First thing he does, destroys the voicemail. Second thing he does, leaves Adam with the port in his mind. Now, anytime anyone clicks their fingers next to Adam, his head's going to open. It's going to expose his brain. So now Adam has to live with that. Now, what's the first thing you would do if you had a time machine? Go back and see the dinosaurs? Stop Hitler? Stop your father from being killed if he was already dead? Well, the Doctor takes Rose back to 1987 to witness the last minutes of her father's life. Now, Rose can't do this. She can't let her dad be killed. Wouldn't you try and stop it? Of course you would. So Rose steps in and saves her father from being killed. But unfortunately, in time, there are certain points that have to be and certain points that don't. And this is a thing that had to happen. The Doctor often states that Hitler is also a thing that had to happen. I don't know how true that would be, but still. So upon stopping her father from being killed, Rose causes a heinous chain of events that put everyone that is nearby in danger. You see, time starts to loop. Nothing is going right. And because of this, there is a creature that protects time and fixes problems like this called Reapers. And they're released, and they're trying to stop everyone who has witnessed it to try and reset time. The person they're really after is they're really after Pete Tyler, Rose's dad. And Rose tries to stay away from him as much as she can, but she can't. It's her father. Now, all of the people go into a nearby church to seek refuge from the Reapers. And the Reapers are stopped for a time with the help of the Doctor. But in the church, there was a young Rose and a young Mickey. But the Doctor does warn Rose to stay away from her baby self, that if she was to touch herself, she would become a paradox and it could destroy the entire universe, destroy time itself. Now, in order to stop the Reapers, Pete Tyler has to sacrifice himself to save his daughter, to save everyone else, and eventually time is reset and everything is back to normal. Another thing you would like to stop would probably be World War II. Now, I know this was a bad time for England, but Rose just left the worst time, so this is probably a piece of cake for her. So they go to World War II. Now, here is a really, really good thing. I'm going to briefly gloss over it and let you watch it, especially if you like horror. This is where there was a group of children who have gas masks on and walk around a destroyed London, thanks to the Germans, saying, "Are you my mummy? Are you my mummy?" And if you answer no, or try and do anything about it, these children who have been taken over by some alien creature, will they turn you into the same as them, or kill you, depending on what they want to do with you at the time. And I'm not going to tell you how they're stopped. But what does happen here is that Rose and the Doctor meet somebody new. They meet a Captain Jack Harkness. Now, he was a time agent who travels through time using a vortex manipulator, which is kind of like a watch that can travel through time. And he claims to be from the 51st century. Now, he does have technology that the Doctor states is from the 51st technology, and Rose likes him. Because of course she does. Now, Rose and the Doctor take him along with them on the TARDIS. And now we have Rose's penultimate stage in all of her encounters with the Doctor and all of her travels and adventures. They arrive on another space station, and upon exiting the TARDIS, they see the words "Bad Wolf." Now, Bad Wolf is something that Rose states has been throughout her entire life, and she's always wondered what it was. It is in every adventure up to this point. Now, when they get on the ship, they are immediately transported to separate areas. You see, this is no ordinary ship. This is a game show ship that is broadcast to the people of Earth below. Now, it is based on different British TV game shows or reality shows, depending on which one. We have The Weakest Link, which is a game show where if you do not get the correct answer, you're booted off. Unfortunately, in this, when you do not get the correct answer, you are exterminated. There is a What Not to Wear with a Trini and Susanna. And if you don't know who those two women are, I would suggest that you Google them. It's kind of a comical show. And on this, they do makeovers for people who don't know what to wear. Pretty self-explanatory. And if they don't like how you look, you undergo plastic surgery instantly, right there. The Doctor is trapped in Big Brother. Now, I know everyone knows what Big Brother is, and I personally don't like it. And then we have why. Well, eventually, the three would escape their bonds and their captures, and they would find the person in charge. Now, the person in charge is a cybernetic person, and just as they get there, a solar flare occurs, and she is able to talk to them normally, and she tells them that she's trying to hide them from her masters, but she cannot tell them who her masters are. And she hid them in the game because the masters do not watch the games. So now the Doctor, Rose, and Jack have to figure out who the masters are. So they go in search, and they find a signal that is being transmitted from the ship to the edge of the universe. So they stop the signal from being sent, and they discover that it is a whole fleet of Dalek ships. And now the Doctor, Rose, and Jack have to figure out what they're going to do about this. They eventually find the TARDIS, and it has been hidden in a restricted area of the space station. They go aboard, and they are immediately transported. In the process, they encounter a lone Dalek, and he confronts Rose and the Doctor. The Doctor uses the TARDIS to generate a force field around all three of them and the TARDIS, and then Jack comes out and destroys the lone Dalek with his weapon that he brought with him from the 51st century. Now, the Doctor has a cunning plan to eradicate all the Daleks using what he called a delta wave to stop all their motions and just stop them from being able to do anything. He asks Rose to go get something from his TARDIS, and of course she agrees. She goes into the TARDIS, and as she goes in, the door locks because the Doctor has locked it with his sonic screwdriver that he asked her to go get. Upon doing so, the TARDIS returns Rose to Earth, to her time, and he tells her so in a hologram, that he knows that he's about to die, and he's tried to save his companion, his friend, from dying. But Rose wouldn't exit the TARDIS. She gets curious. The TARDIS almost starts to speak to her, showing her a panel that is creaked open, and from it leaks a strange light. Rose lifts the panel and looks deep inside. The light envelops her completely. This is no ordinary light. This is the heart of the TARDIS, the time vortex itself. Rose is absorbing all of this. The TARDIS would answer her call and send her back to her Doctor. And now the Doctor is being confronted by 6 Daleks and the Emperor of the Daleks, who should be dead because he was killed in the Time War that the Doctor was the last survivor. Rose is not human anymore. Rose has become the Bad Wolf. Now Rose has to send Bad Wolf throughout time so that she will still become the Bad Wolf, because she created herself. The Bad Wolf, Rose, is almost a god. She controls life and death, and she vaporizes a Dalek right in front of the Doctor. Not just vaporize, just turns it to dust, and she does the same with the other Daleks present. And then the entire fleet. And then she tells the Doctor, who is so worried about her, that he says that she will burn up. Her brain is going to explode because of all this energy, all this power that is surging through her whole body. Every cell will just disintegrate. She claims that she does control life. And she brings Jack back from the dead. But in doing so, she accidentally made Jack immortal. But that will come up later in another episode. The Doctor, knowing that she can't control this power, that she can't handle so much energy, the Doctor needs to take it from her. Now, how would any normal person take it from her? I don't know. But the Doctor just kissed her, took all the energy onto himself. And in doing so, the Doctor starts to die. But the Doctor doesn't die. You see, the Doctor has a little trick up his sleeve. Well, actually, all Time Lords have this little trick up their sleeve. The Doctor can do what's called a regeneration. And in regenerating, he becomes a new person with all the memories of all his previous incarnations, with new personality, new outward appearance. Now the Doctor does regenerate, and he changes into the 10th Doctor. But the 10th Doctor is still sick. He is still recovering from his regeneration. So where does a 19-year-old, 20-year-old girl, take a friend who is sick? To her mom, of course. So Rose takes the TARDIS back to London, back to her mom, and the Doctor collapses, and nobody recognizes him. Mickey is there. He doesn't recognize who she is. And it is Christmas Day at this point. Now, what happens on Christmas Day of this year is that a signal is sent from outer space, and they are trying to figure out if they are friend or foe. And as they are trying to figure out, people start to kill themselves for no reason, in droves, like lemmings, walking off buildings, walking into things. As it turns out, there is an alien race known as the Sycorax who want to enslave the Earth. But the Prime Minister of England, Harriet Jones, who is known to the Doctor and Rose, set up a task force for this very reason. And they are in the process of trying to figure out who or what they are. Now, Rose is summoned by this task force and by the Prime Minister. But the Doctor is ill, so the Doctor can't go with them. He's in bed. So Rose and Mickey go with Harriet Jones to their headquarters for the task force, and they try and figure out what's going on. And they eventually do figure out a translator, and they figure out what everyone is saying. And in doing this, they send a signal back, and then they are teleported aboard the Sycorax ship, except the Doctor is inside his TARDIS, sick. The Sycorax detect the Doctor's ship and teleport it aboard also. Now something happens. The Doctor eventually awakens from his sickness and is now a whole new man. And he says he's a new man. The Doctor challenges the leader of the Sycorax to single combat. In his pajamas. In his dressing gown. And he does so. And he wins. But the Sycorax don't fight fair. He beat the Sycorax in single combat. And the Sycorax still chops off the Doctor's arm. But the Doctor is still in his regenerating process. He's not completely finished yet. So he grows a new arm right there on the spot. His other arm floating all the way down to Earth. And after this, he gives him one more chance. After defeating him once again, the Sycorax tries to kill Doctor one more time. And the Doctor, being the Doctor, doesn't really like to kill things. Not anymore. But upon the Sycorax leader trying to kill him, he throws a Satsuma, which is a small orange if you don't know what it is, hits the release for a platform that the Sycorax commander is standing on, and the Sycorax commander falls to his death to Earth. And that's it. This new Doctor isn't all nice. He's going to do what's right. He'll give you a chance. If you don't take it, bye-bye. So we have a new Doctor. So with a new Doctor, where's the first place that he'd take Rose? He'd take her to New Earth. To New York. It is here where our next adventure begins. You see, across the way, the Doctor and Rose see a healing center, a hospital. So they decided to go to the hospital, just to see. Now in here, Rose and the Doctor are met by nurses. No ordinary nurses. No. These are cats. You see, we're very far in the future. And the cats are the best nurses that there are. Now, they decided that they're going to go and visit with somebody in the hospital. Just to see the people. Because they are using the psychic paper and they are put as inspectors for the hospital. Upon doing so, they learn that the nurses have figured out a way of curing all diseases. And the Doctor is curious by this because one of the patients had a disease that is incurable. But they meet a friend here. They meet the Face of Bo once again. And the Face of Bo always holds prophecy for the Doctor. Things that are going to happen in his future. Because the Face of Bo is from his future, apparently. or he knows everything. Now, this is not the only person that they meet here. No. Remember the human, in quotes, Cassandra? Well, she's here again, and she learns that Rose is here. And she wants Rose's body. She wants to be human. To be completely human. So she uses a form of technology called a psychograph to implant her consciousness onto Rose. And now Rose is in her body. But so is Cassandra. And Cassandra has complete power over her body. In doing so, Cassandra meets back up with the doctor, and they're trying to figure out how the cat people are able to control all diseases, to control everything. And they eventually figure it out. They figure out that deep within the hospital, there are humans that are infected with everything and being held in stasis. And because of this, they extract the antibodies that are trying to fight said diseases and are able to cure everything. Now Rose and Cassandra are fighting for control of the body, and Rose would eventually get free. But in doing so, Cassandra implants herself into her lackey. But before all of this, the doctor doesn't like to see anyone die. And on board the elevators at the hospital, there are sanitizing showers that will kill any disease that is met with. So the doctor fills it up with every single cure that he can find, loads the whole thing up, and then invites these people in who, up until now, if you were touched by them, you were turned into one of them. Kind of like a zombie without the biting, just the touching. And he cures all of them. And now there's a new race of people, and the doctor saved them. He created a new human race. And the humans were all but dead at this point. Not completely eradicated, but all but dead. But now there's a new species. A new human. The cat nurses are arrested for crimes against the new race of humans for doing what they did. And the doctor and Rose leave confident that nothing else is going to happen. So now Rose wants to go to somewhere in the past. And the doctor says that he will take her to 1979. But they end up in 1879. And as here they meet Queen Victoria of England. And they are on their way to Torchwood House. And Torchwood will become prevalent later, but not right now. Now, unfortunately, Queen Victoria is being hunted by a werewolf, which is not something that you would normally hear about with the Queen, but there's always some kind of conspiracy around royalty and around government officials. It is not until several of the house staff that they go to are fed to this werewolf that the Rose coordinated an escape for them and scolded the doctor when he finally arrived to help for taking so long. The doctor uses the Koh-i-Noor and the house's light chamber to destroy the wolf with moonlight. And for this, the doctor and Rose were knighted. Now Rose's knighted name was Dame Rose of the Powell Estate, and then they were immediately banished as a threat to the British Empire. On the way back to the TARDIS, the Doctor and Rose end up joking about how, what if the Queen had been bitten by a werewolf and that the whole royal family were in fact werewolves. And because of this, Queen Victoria founded the Torchwood Institute to address alien threats in the future. This included the Doctor. And now we have another story that I kind of liked, as it involves schools. And stories around schools are always kind of creepy. Now Mickey brought the Doctor and Rose to a high school, and there was suspiciously high exam results, which normally wouldn't be a thing. But there's also a lot of UFO sightings in the area. So Rose goes undercover as a cafeteria / dinner lady, and she'd been eating the school chips, and they were coated in a intelligence increasing oil. If only it was that easy. She discovered that one of the dinner ladies had been burned by the oil, and then she meets with a companion of the Doctor, an old companion of the Doctor. Her name is Sarah Jane Smith. Now Mickey is there with Rose, and she describes it like the missus meeting the ex. Now, both women are actually very jealous of all this attention because Sarah Jane didn't leave the doctor. She was asked to leave by the doctor. Obviously, to save herself from some impending doom that was going to happen at some point. But Rose becomes worried about this. Worried that she would be abandoned. That the doctor would leave her behind. And he promises not to you. Now, the doctor also meets an old friend in K9 who was a robot dog. And he identifies the oil as Krillitane oil. And that the new staff were a race of being known as the Krillitane. Now, the Krillitanes were using the children's minds to construct the stasis paradigm, a computation, an equation that could rebuild the fabric of the universe. Now, the doctor recognizes the Krillitanes from a previous adventure, and they resembled people with long necks that time. K9 destroyed the Krillitanes by blowing up the lethal oil barrels, and then Mickey joined the TARDIS to Rose's obvious disapproval because Mickey is, or was, I'm not sure at this point, her boyfriend, and she's traveling with the doctor, who she loves. Now, before Sarah and Rose part ways, they tell each other to stay with the doctor despite being unsure what to do when he claims that some things are worth getting your heart broken for. Now, sometimes when you're traveling through time, it's not so easy. Sometimes you fall in a crack. And not a crack in time, but a crack between dimensions. Now, this happens to the Doctor, Rose, and Mickey aboard the TARDIS. And they end up in a parallel universe. And here, everything is different. They find out that Pete Tyler is alive, and so is Rose's mom. And they are married. But they don't have Rose. They do suspiciously have a dog named Rose. Now, as it turns out, Pete Tyler is a successful businessman. Now, in Rose's time and her dimension, Pete Tyler was always trying to be a successful businessman, doing schemes and cons, but they never worked out. But in this dimension, all of these schemes and cons did work out. And as it turns out, Pete Tyler works for a company. So Rose and the Doctor decide to crash a party that Jackie and Pete are holding for Jackie's birthday, and they find out who Pete is working for. And he's working for a company by the name of Cybus Industries. Now, it turns out that the head designer for this company, the CEO, is designing what's called earpods. Strange. Apple, you trying to do this too? Well, these earpods connect the wearers to a neural net where they can get all their information, kind of like a smartphone in your ears. Everything is sent to your brain. But John Lumick, who is the head of Cybus, is now using such things to control everyone to do his bidding. And he creates a creature, a humanoid, but is not human. It has no emotions. It only wants perfection. Similar to the Daleks, only almost much worse. He creates what's called a Cyberman. He gives birth to the Cybermen, a race that the Doctor knows destroy everything. They have no empathy. They don't care. All they want to do is make everyone like them. Create perfection. And because of this, the Doctor knows that he must stop the Cybermen, because he knows what havoc they wreaked on his dimension. Now, Mickey, at this point, is not with the Doctor and Rose. He ends up getting not captured, but taken by a group of freedom fighters. And he meets his own counterpart. But his own counterpart isn't named Mickey. Looks just like him. His name is Ricky. But Ricky ends up getting killed. So now Mickey is the only one left. And they are trying to infiltrate Cybus Industries to get a code to stop all of this from happening. Now eventually they do get the code, and he texts it to Rose, and this code is able to cancel the Cybermen's emotional inhibitors. So now all the Cybermen start to explode under all the stress of the emotions that are going on. So now all the Cybermen are dead. Now, Mickey has a choice to make. He must stay here and help these people get free, or travel with Rose and the Doctor. And he says that he doesn't really fit in anyway, so why would he stay? So Mickey decides to stay on this alternate universe, alternate Earth, and look after his nan, his grandmother. So they part ways, and the Doctor and Rose head back to Jackie's house at the Powell Estates in South London, and she doesn't tell him what happened. She doesn't tell her what happens. She just hugs her. Now the Doctor and Rose land on a planet. They land inside a base, Sanctuary Base 6, and Crop Tor. Now this planet is no ordinary planet. It is in a perpetual orbit above a black hole. Now following an earthquake, unfortunately the TARDIS falls beneath the Earth's surface. Now the humans on board this base had come to Crop Tor to discover that there was a strange source of power emanating from the planet's core, and they couldn't figure out what it was. But they did know that this was the power that was causing the planet to be in perpetual orbit above the black hole, which is impossible. A black hole sucks everything in. Light, energy, everything. Nothing escapes a black hole. So this planet's impossible. Now, the people on the planet are drilling to figure out what the power is. And the Doctor pleads with them to stop drilling towards the center and drill to try and get his TARDIS back, his ship. So Rose stays on board on the surface, and the Doctor decides that he's going to go deep within to try and figure out if he can get his TARDIS back, for one, and two, what's going on. Now on board this ship there is a slave race of people by the name of the Ood. Now the Ood are kind of like a Cthulhu looking creature. They have a face, 2 eyes, no visible mouth, and tentacles hanging from where their mouth would be. And attached under these tentacles is a cord or a wire, and at the end of the wire is a ball. Now the Ood use this ball to communicate through voice, because the Ood in their natural state use telekinesis and telepathy to communicate. Now because of this, the Ood are acceptable to a lot of things. Now the Doctor and his counterpart are trapped below the planet's surface, and contact is lost. So Rose has to take command and be the Doctor at this time and help the people on the ship to try and figure out a way of escaping. In the process of this, the Ood are being controlled by some external force, and they are trying to kill everyone on board Sanctuary Base 6. So Rose has them come up with an idea, and Danny, who is the head of Ood control, figures out that if they were to emit a reverse signal across the Ood's bandwidth that they communicate on, that it would be able to disrupt their connection to whatever power that is connected. Unknowing to everyone at this time, the archaeologist that is on board the ship had been trying to translate information that he had found on pottery and such. And in doing so, he invoked a nefarious creature being upon himself. But this isn't known to anyone but him. And even he is not sure of what happens, because when it does happen, he ends up losing all memory of what just occurred. So they all decide that they're going to use the maintenance tunnels with the help of the captain, who is aboard a lookout platform, we'll call it, a cockpit on the spaceship. So using the maintenance tunnels, they have to inject oxygen into the tunnel that they're in and evacuate it from the one previous to stop anyone from following them. This is kind of like Alien, where they're running through the tunnels and the vicious xenomorph is following them. Only now it's a vicious Ood. That's how I saw it, at least. That's how I remember it. Now, when Rose eventually would re-establish contact with the Doctor, he told him that he fell into a pit and that Rose wanted to stay behind and wait, and that if he died, that she wanted to die too. But unfortunately, they are forced aboard a spacecraft that they have waiting nearby. And the Doctor and Ida are left behind. Now, when the Doctor cuts his support and falls, he's not killed. Now, he could not see anything. No ground. Nothing. He just fell. And he can't explain how he survived this fall. He doesn't know how far he fell. He just awakened. And when he gets down there, it's open. It's huge. And he figures out what's keeping the planet in orbit above a black hole. See, this is no ordinary planet. This planet is a prison. This planet is being used to keep the most evil of evils. He looks like Satan, only bigger. And the Doctor comes to the conclusion that what if this creature is as old as time itself, spreads across all of time? It is the same evil that is mentioned in every religion of every race of every planet that the Doctor has ever been to. And the Doctor knows that he has one thing to do. He has to destroy this creature. He has to destroy this devil, this Satan. And the only way he knows how to do it is to cut the gravity funnel that is holding the planet in orbit above the black hole and send the demon into the black hole to die. Now, as the Doctor does so and he stumbles away, he ends up finding that his TARDIS was right there all the time. And as it happens, the spacecraft that Rose and the others are on board is having a little bit of trouble getting away from the black hole's massive gravity well. So the Doctor finds Ida, who also was right there. Very, very happy. Very, very happy. And then the Doctor uses his TARDIS to tow the spacecraft that is in danger, out of danger, and tells him to go home. And they head back to Earth and everyone's fine. And now we're almost coming to the end of Rose. Or at least mostly the end of Rose. You see, the Doctor and Rose, they do tend to go back to Jackie on regular occasions just to check in on her, because granted it's time travel, but Rose still likes to see her in her time and in her continuity. And on one such visit, the entire planet is under the impression that they're being visited by ghosts. These ghosts had implanted themselves so deep that they were even on TV, that they were even in sitcom, in Coronation Street and EastEnders. And Jackie was under the pretense that her grandfather, Rose's grandfather, was visiting them. Now the Doctor ends up tracking this signal to Torchwood Tower in Canary Wharf and is unfortunately taken prisoner by Yvonne Hartman, who is the head of Torchwood. Now, this Torchwood is not the same Torchwood that we meet in the future. This is a slightly more vicious Torchwood. The Doctor is evil Torchwood, because of the Queen Victoria incident, when the Doctor is brandished with being an enemy of the state. Now, the ghosts turn out that they were a side effect of ghost shifts, because the Torchwood Institute were obtaining power for the British Empire after tearing a hole in reality caused by a void ship. Now, Rose sneaked into a room in Torchwood where this void ship was being held, but she was quickly found out, obviously enough, because it's Rose, it's not the Doctor. Now we find out what the ghosts really are. The ghosts are actually Cybermen, and there was one of them in Torchwood at the time, and they were making more, but the other Cybermen are still trapped within the void, and they can't escape. Now, this void ship, the Doctor and Rose believed it to be Cyberman technology, and then the Cybermen invade, using the ghost shift to, instead of just appearing as ghosts, but to completely materialize right in front of anyone who they were near. So now they had become everywhere. They were everywhere, in the middle of large built-up areas with people ripe for the picking for the Cybermen to convert into their own image. Now, as it turns out, the void ship was not Cybermen technology, but it was being used by Daleks, a specific cult of Daleks in particular, the cult of Skaro, who had names. They were different. These Daleks were not like other Daleks. In fact, these Daleks could imagine. They could think like the enemy, as the Doctor said, but they ran. They weren't there when the Doctor did what he did. I won't get into what he did yet because this is going to come up on his episode, on when I describe his story. But the Daleks reveal to him that it is Time Lord technology, and that the touch of a Time Lord would release everything. And the Doctor states that, how fitting, you're using technology that you can't use because you can't touch. Now, Rose and Mickey are cornered by a group of Daleks, and Rose tells these Daleks of what she did to their Emperor, to their God, and what happened during the Time War. And this stops the Daleks from killing her and Mickey. Instead, they take them prisoner. Now, the Daleks finally figure out that they're not the only ones who are invading at this time, that the Cybermen are also invading. Now, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so Mickey and his friends from the other universe, along with Pete, come in, guns a-blazing, and they make a small alliance with the Cybermen, stating that we need to stop the Daleks before they get too powerful. Now, in the whole process of this, trying to rescue Rose and trying to save the Doctor and everyone else, Mickey accidentally opens the Genesis Ark, the Void ship, because Mickey had also been aboard the TARDIS. He had time vortex energy around him, in him. And when he opens it, millions of Daleks explode out of the ship. Now the Daleks and the Cybermen realize that they need to kill each other. These are the two of the Doctor's deadliest enemies, and they are right here on Earth, where they had, I think, been before in the original Doctor Who, but we're going to say never in this magnitude, never this many, never together. So the Doctor comes up with a way of trying to send them back, and he knows that they're all covered in energy, that he uses 3D glasses to see, and he also realizes that Rose is also covered in the same energy. So is Mickey, so is Pete, because they've all traveled through the void to get from the alternate dimension. So the Doctor is going to use the ghost shift in reverse to suck everybody out and send them back through the void where they came from and trap them in the void. All but Mickey, Pete and Rose, because they're going to use their time jumpers, which are big giant pendants around her neck. But Rose is with the Doctor at the time, and she's getting sucked in. She can't hold on anymore, so she's getting sucked into the void too. But the Doctor can't do anything. He can't stop her. He's also covered in void energy. If he lets go, he's going to get sucked in too. So in walks her dad. Her dad uses his own body to jump towards her, catch her, uses his time jumper to escape to the alternate dimension. But just then, the void closes. The rip in reality is no longer there. Rose is trapped on the other side. Doctor is trapped on his side. And then we have one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in Doctor Who. Rose on one side, the Doctor on the other, seemingly touching through the wall. A wall separated by another dimension. And now Rose is gone. The Rose and the Doctor are no more. But the Rose did live on. She ends up staying on the other Earth, and the Doctor would contact her at least once more, using the last teeny tiny hole to send a psychic message to Rose, telling her to go to Darrig Ulv Stranden, which translated means Bad Wolf Bay, and it's in Norway. And he says goodbye. And then he finally closes the gaps, and on her Earth, she's dead. But on this Jackie, on this new Earth, because I forgot to mention that Pete's Jackie from the other Earth is dead, but Jackie from Rose's Jackie goes with them to the new Earth, and Pete and Jackie get remarried, because this Jackie is slightly different. They're all slightly different, but the same. Like if you walk down the street and you always turn left, and then that one day you turn right and you find something very special. Something like that. Now, we know that Rose and the Doctor are intrinsically linked. Because of Bad Wolf, Rose is always around. Now, Rose has been working on something she called a dimension cannon so that she could get back to the Doctor. And at this point in time, I probably should explain what's going on. Throughout the whole series up until now of Doctor Who, little things have been going on. Planets had been disappearing. And as it would turn out, the planets disappearing was a plot by Davros, who was a high up in the Dalek court, we'll call it. And he's using all these disappearing planets to create what he calls a reality bomb, to destroy all of reality. Take himself, all the Daleks, everyone else out of the picture. So Rose knows what's going on because on her Earth, time is slightly different. It travels at a little bit of a faster rate. So it's a couple of months in the future and she knows what's going on. So she goes to try and warn everyone. Now initially, Rose thought that only the Doctor could help, but she needs the Doctor and his new companion, Donna Noble. And both of them are required to stop the stars from going out. Now, the thing with Donna is that there's something revolving around all of her. I'm not going to get into it. We'll just say that something weird happens. She will be in the Doctor episode himself. But Rose keeps popping up as well. Throughout the next adventures of the Doctor and Donna, the Doctor and Martha Stewart, the Doctor and by himself, Rose will always pop up. For instance, Donna is looking for her keys during an incident with some little adipose, which basically means fat in Greek. And basically what happens is people eat these pills. Eventually these pills turn your fat into these little living creatures. They're kind of cute looking. But Rose turns up in that. When Donna asks where she left her car keys, she says they're in the trash can over there. And the woman turned around and it was Rose. And then she walks off and fades away. When the Doctor and Donna go to Pompeii in 79 AD, right before Mount Vesuvius was going to explode, there was a foreshadowing of Rose's return. During an invasion by the Sontaran Empire, who were a small race of potato-looking creatures who are vicious, who want to die in battle, almost like Spartan. Rose's face would pop up on the TARDIS screens when Donna was trapped inside. When the Doctor visits the planet Midnight, Rose appears on a screen on the bus. Now, all of these things point that Rose and the Doctor are always linked. They always have to come back to each other. So, like I said, Davros is creating a reality bomb to destroy all of reality. And Rose knows that she is one of the only people who can help. So she, using her dimension cannon, she gets back to Earth, her Earth, and she goes in search of people to help her find the Doctor. Now, she meets a friend of the Doctor by the name of Wilf. Now, Wilf will come up in the Doctor episode because he is a major player in the Doctor. And upon meeting Wilfred Mott, he takes her back to his house, and using their computer, she tries to contact the Doctor or anyone who can help. Now Harriet Jones, Sarah Jane Smith, Captain Jack, and Martha Jones. Sorry, I think I said Martha Stewart earlier, which would be kind of odd since she's kind of tag teaming with Snoop Dogg at the moment. Now, they all end up on a computer screen that Rose is looking at. And Rose assumes that they are looking for her, because in the bottom screen, there's an empty spot, but it's not for her. Now, Rose ends up leaving here, knowing that she's no longer needed. And she goes out on the street. And upon getting on the street, she sees the Doctor and Donna at the other end of the street. And the Doctor and Rose, run to each other. But as they're running, the Doctor is fired upon by a Dalek, and it mortally injures him. With the help of Jack and Donna, Rose takes him to the TARDIS, and he starts regenerating. We know what happens when the Doctor regenerates. He becomes a new man with memories of everything past, yes, but he's a new personality, a new man. What if he's not the same anymore? Will Rose still love him? Fortunately, this doctor was able to stop the regeneration process and retain his current form, and he spit all the rest of his regeneration energy into the hand that was chopped off the day of the Sycorax, because Captain Jack Harkness had found the hand and he kept it. Now, this part I wasn't really going to get into completely, but I think I should explain what exactly goes on through this whole thing. So after the Doctor had regenerated, they are found by a patrol of Daleks inside the TARDIS. Now, the TARDIS is trapped in what's called a temporal loop and is now powerless. So the Dalek commander, the Supreme Dalek, orders to take the TARDIS aboard the Crucible, which is their main vessel, the lead ship. Now, upon getting there, the Supreme Dalek orders them to get out, and everyone on board knows that the TARDIS has a shield that prevents anyone from attacking with any weapon from the outside. But the Doctor exclaims that right now, that wooden door is just a wooden door. So they all get out. But Donna stays behind because she's distracted by a sound that she hears. She hears a heartbeat aboard the TARDIS. And as she looks back, the main door to the TARDIS just slams shut. Now, the Doctor thinks that the Supreme Dalek had something to do with all of this, and he demands her to be released. He denies all of this. It's not him. It must be you. So the Supreme Dalek orders the TARDIS to be sent to the core of this crucible and be destroyed. And the TARDIS falls and is being spun around in the core of the crucible. It looks like the center of a star. The Supreme Dalek tells them that the ship will be burnt up, and as the TARDIS is exploding inside and everything's just popping up and being destroyed, Donna falls near the Doctor's severed hand, and she hears a heartbeat again, and she touches the container that's holding the hand, and energy is released and starts flowing around everyone. Donna, this severed hand that's in a container, and then the hand bursts out like the hand in the Addams Family. It's now alive by itself. But unlike the hand in the Addams Family, this hand starts to grow a new body, and it looks just like the Doctor. Exactly the same. Somehow, there's two Doctors. Now, the Doctor quickly dematerializes the TARDIS, which now has all its energy back, and goes back to where the original Doctor, Rose, and Jack are being held. Now, we know that Jack can't die, so Jack decides to shoot the Supreme Dalek in a kind of last-ditch effort to create a distraction or something, and it causes Davros and the Supreme Dalek to order Jack to be taken away and disposed of. But yeah, Jack's immortal. He escapes, obviously. Now in the TARDIS, the new Doctor dresses himself up in his new blue suit, and he finishes repairing the inside of the TARDIS, and he starts talking kind of odd. He starts speaking like Donna, and he says, "You have to be quiet. You can't even drop a spanner. Nothing." Donna starts asking questions like, "Are Time Lords like worms? If you chop one in half, will they become another one?" He's not Deadpool. He's not Deadpool and Madcap, no. And this is where the two start speaking almost in sync, almost identical, and they realize that this is where the Dr. Donna comes in. Or is it? Now, with the Doctor and Rose frozen in a force field and unable to do anything, Davros tells them exactly what the reality bomb will do, that it will destroy everything. Now, back on Earth, Martha Jones, who was a member of UNIT at the time, was in the process of invoking a last-ditch effort to destroy the Earth using what they call the Osterhagen key. Don't ask me what it means. I have no idea. If any German people are listening to this, please let me know. And Davros and the rest of the Daleks learn of this because Martha obviously tells them what they're going to do. So the Daleks just transport them aboard the Crucible, obviously not. So the Daleks prepare to activate the reality bomb, and they're going to wipe out all the matter in this universe and every other universe. But then the Doctor and Donna, the new Doctor, arrive in the TARDIS. Now, each try to destroy the Daleks using weapons created by the new Doctor, and they are both stunned by shots of electricity from Davros, because Davros has an electronic hand and he can shoot electricity, kind of like the Emperor from Star Wars. Now, the Doctor is relatively unharmed by this, but Donna is kind of a little bit shook, so she doesn't get up just yet. And they assume that she's dead. Now the bomb is counting down. 9, 8, 7, 6, blah blah blah, so on and so on. But then nothing happens. It hits 1 and nothing happens. And then an alarm goes off. Everyone looks around and they're just, to their surprise, Donna is standing there using controls. Like she knows what she's doing. Like Donna admittedly says that she can't even change a plug, and the Doctor suddenly realized that during the creation of the new Doctor, some of the Doctor's DNA and intellect and such was transferred to Doctor, and that this was the Dr. Donna that was prophesized. That during this meta-crisis, as they call it, a little bit of the Doctor had laid dormant, and when she was struck by the electricity, it awakened her, and then they all start to send back all of the planet, but not before having fun with the Daleks, sending signals back along themselves so that they cannot no longer control themselves and start spinning wildly out of control. It's kind of funny, actually. Now, Donna would be the one who would send all of the planets back to their relative dimension in space and back to where they came from. There's a whole list of them. They have very funny names. We're not going to go through it because it's not really purposeful for this. Now, Davros is pissed. He had with him a Dalek by the name of Dalek Khan, who was slightly crazy. He was a Dalek who was no longer really inside of his armoured shell. He was hanging out. Now, the Daleks kind of look like a octopus that can talk with. Just creepy. I'm not even going to get into it. But Davros claims that Dalek Khan was able to prophesize the future, and that he had seen this and now he was a traitor. And Davros and the Supreme Dalek start to try and kill Dr. Donna, Jack, Rose, other Doctor. And in the process of this, he destroys the machine that is sending all the planets back. But fortunately, all of the planets, bar one, were sent back to their place in space. And the last planet was, which one? Yeah, it was Earth, obviously. It's always the one that they're from. Now, realizing that Dalek Khan had seen the end of the Daleks and had been manipulating time to achieve this, and knowing that even without the reality bomb, the Daleks could still take the whole universe by force, the new Doctor uses the remaining machinery to destroy all of the Daleks, all of their ships, everything. All these ships just start self-destructing. All of the Daleks on board, dead. And when the original Doctor offers to save Davros, he refuses, pointing out all of the destruction around him. And Davros streaks back. "Never forget, Doctor, you did this. I name you forever. You are the destroyer of worlds." An epithet the Daleks have long associated with the Doctor. Davros screams in fury as the flames surround him, while Dalek Khan ominously predicts again. One will still die. So the Doctor decides to use the TARDIS to tow the Earth home. Now, I didn't say this about the TARDIS earlier, but the TARDIS isn't designed to be flown by a single Time Lord. It is designed to be flown by multiple Time Lords. But they need to cross the rift. They need to use Torchwood's rift manipulator to send energy to get them back home. Now, Sarah Jane Smith has a computer who's kind of alive. She called him Mr. Smith, and using K9 sends a code that the Doctor can use to communicate and get everyone home. So they pilot the TARDIS home with the Earth behind them, and everyone gets home. With Earth back in its proper place, with the Earth back where it belongs, the Doctor's companions leave the TARDIS. Sarah points out to the Doctor that he considers himself a lonely man, but he's not lonely. The Doctor has the biggest family of all. He has every person on Earth as his family, as his companion. She then leaves because she's concerned about her son. So she goes home. Then Jack leaves, but the doctor yells at Jack, "I told you no teleport." And he has his vortex manipulator again disabled. So now it's just a what. Then Mickey leaves, saying that he doesn't need to go back to the parallel Earth. That his nan is dead there. So he's nothing left to go for. So he just stays on his regular Earth. So the doctor returns Rose and Jackie to their original dimension. But now we have a problem. We have 2 doctors, but this new doctor, is different. He's just like he was after the Time War, full of blood and anger. And he says to Rose that you made me better, make him better. And he tells Rose that this new doctor only has 1 heart. He's half human. He's going to age. You can grow old with him. You can die with him. So Rose asks both of them, say the words you were unable to say to me. The original doctor says, does it need saying? And the new doctor whispers something in her ears. And she quickly kisses him. And that's it. That's the end of Rose. Now that I've finished with this, I want to just give a couple of quick shout outs to people who've helped me over my journey. And to people on my Patreon who I have a new one as of this week. Thank you very much, Jenna. And if you want to check out a podcast about all things living in the woods and being slightly redneck, go check out Meet Me in the Woods on Podbean. You won't be disappointed. You will learn at least one new thing every time you listen to her podcast. I find it fascinating. And also, listen to Just the Worst podcast. It's 2 girls' take on everything that is just the worst. If you don't laugh at least twice in every episode, there's something wrong with you. And also, the Breakers podcast is currently rebooting their first season. At least the first episode of their first season. So go check it out. It's an audio drama about a post-apocalyptic Earth. I'm not going to say any more because you need to hear it yourself. I want to thank all the friends over at the Sofa King podcast group and on the Sofa King podcast. Thank you very much, guys. If you want to request a show, go on my social media. I'm at All Geeks Aside on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I also have a Patreon account. I'm not going to ask you for anything, but if you do feel like you would like to help support the show, go right ahead. I don't like asking for anything, but I said the option is there. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the show.